I'm live on Twitch with Sekiro right now. Check it out.
Rolling Girls opens with one of the most indulgently gorgeous episodes of TV anime ever produced, but don't think that just because of these pretty colors I'll let it get away with also opening by injecting politics into my anime. Let's take a look at the brain crime that Rolling Girls has committed against me. 10 years ago, something called the Great Tokyo War happened, during which all of Japan's previous elites, its political leaders and wealthy, disappeared. The war ended, and then, to quote the series, stuff happened, and Japan fractured into dozens of little independent city-states. The series really doesn't get bogged down in the little details of things. It also doesn't get bogged down in the whole rest of the world. In spite of having this complicated set of considered geopolitical circumstances within the country of Japan, the outside world functionally doesn't exist. And the show is very explicit with this. In the opening scene, we see the planet Earth, and everything except Japan is literally clouded from our vision, while Japan is literally the center of the world. As far as Rolling Girls is concerned, Japan is the only place that exists on Earth. So as cutesy as they might have tried to make this sequence be, it's actually pretty insidious. Don't let the adorable papercraft fool you, these pastels are fascist. The only real reference to an outside world is in a law that is for some reason called the Twin Tower Declaration. Was that intentional? That had to be intentional, right? But why? The declaration states that any conflicts which can't be solved diplomatically, and thus must be resolved through combat, will do so through combat between the two parties' vigilante squads. Oh, and then there's also one other reference to an outside world. That'd be the aliens. Yeah, Rolling Girls lets us know with 3 episodes left that those are a thing. So what exactly is this series about? That's an intimidating question because in addition to that wild assortment of world details, Rolling Girls is also awash in contradiction. Vigilantes are usually those who operate outside of the law, but here they're hired by the state to be its diplomatic representatives. We're told that vigilantes opened up the world forcefully, and yet also that they became protectors of peace. The world is rife with dozens of conflicts between dozens of nations, but all of that takes place within a space we understand to be one singular nation. Japanese people are the only ones who exist in the world, seemingly, except for the literal aliens secretly living among them. It would be easy to look at all this and conclude that the series is about chaos or some similar idea. Its animated excess, breakneck pace, and general zaniness certainly lend themselves to that reading, but I think taking that at face value would be oversimplifying things. In keeping with its contradictory nature, Rolling Girls is about ordered chaos, and specifically about simple conflicts between pairs of opposing forces. So, in effect, it's about that immense amount of tension that arises from all of its own various contradictions. In spite of all these nation-states having all of these messy conflicts with each other, we never encounter any instance of alliance between them, or some broader coalition, or a land dispute that involves more than 2 parties. While a third state may factor into a conflict, like Higashi Murayama wanting to take over Tokorozawa because they feel small compared to their neighbor Tokyo, the conflict is squarely between the 2 states. Higashi Murayama's representative doesn't propose an alliance in order to take back land from Tokyo or anything. The plot of episodes 5 and 6 is about a pair of vigilante squads fighting over who should control and define their state. In episodes 9 through 12, we see a conflict between the remnants of the head family and the branch family of the land play out. The animation plays into this as well, building up the importance of these one-on-one conflicts by consistently providing intensely visceral visualizations of the vigilante duels. Even at a foundational level, the Twin Tower Declaration, the rule establishing the means through which state conflict in this world is mediated, props up this pattern of simple one-on-one conflicts by reducing disputes between states to brawls between their representative gang leaders and nothing more. You might wonder what something so weirdly specific as one-on-one conflict could be saying, but it actually fits in well with the other nationalist elements of the series. Japan as the only country on Earth and the center of the world, with aliens secretly in our midst driving the main conflict, definitely lends itself to a nationalist reading, and through that lens we find some answers. Nationalism is all about simplifying conflicts. We are one unified nation, one which through its superiority deserves to hold power over other nations. Nationalism would have you believe your country as a whole is engaging in a fight against the enemy as a whole. Other nuance-creating factors, like a solidarity between workers in both countries fighting for better treatment by their employers, or anti-war factions from both sides coming together, are ignored. We are united us. They are united other. Any people in our nation who disrupt this unification are not us. They are an incursion by other. And yet, Rolling Girls doesn't necessarily sign on to this nationalistic viewpoint. With all of this established, it's time to discuss something else that the series is about: complicating these simple one-on-one conflicts. Such conflicts are the established order of the world, the manner by which it operates, but disrupting that order is what our protagonist is all about. After the leader of her local vigilante squad, Matcha Green, is gravely injured, Nozomi goes out to travel the country, fulfilling all the requests for help that have been sent to the vigilante in her place. Nozomi will end up being the third party to these conflicts, and as we see, that ends up being a deeply disruptive force. The warring squads from episodes 5 and 6 have their conflict resolved and become a unified country. While the fight between family branches in episodes 9 through 12 is simple in concept, through the involvement of Nozomi and her friends, it becomes a sprawling affair with like 6 various factions. And this is a good thing. By and large, the situations Nozomi intrudes upon are ones of relative stasis, where the root of the issue has failed to be addressed over an extended period of time and tensions have gone unresolved. The series posits that by simplifying things to the point of 2 opposing forces, people's actual needs and desires often don't get addressed. In episodes 3 and 4, the true issue is that a member of Always Komima's vigilante squad doesn't want their best, the name for the leaders of these squads, to step down. She creates a false threat in the form of a pretend terrorist organization to keep that leader from retiring. This is the most literal example of this concept in action, because here the battle between these two sides is a knowingly created farce that prevents the root issue from being resolved. It's once she comes forward and confronts the best with her feelings that progress is made. If Nozomi hadn't stepped in, if the two-sided conflict had been allowed to continue uninterrupted, it could have theoretically lasted forever. Now, as I just said, the vigilante squad leaders are called bests, but the rest of the squad are called rests, so each squad has the best and the rest. Rolling Girls takes issue with the paradigm where conflict is fought between 2 bests and where the rests do nothing, as I just explained, which is really interesting when we remember that bests are stand-ins for state power. What's being got at here is that simple conflicts between nations are largely symbolic, self-aggrandizing endeavors that don't solve things, and that only when the rest get involved, and the issues they're dealing with start guiding the conflicts, do those conflicts start becoming something meaningful that can make things better. In that way, the series is actually a pointed anti-nationalist piece. At the end of the Great Tokyo War, most of the wealthy, leaders, and ruling class disappear, but even with them gone, if the state remains as the primary object to be upheld, its people will continue to be disenfranchised. Rolling Girls warns that even if those with the political and economic power don't stand in your way, a blind nationalist allegiance still can. This is an extremely relevant point to make, given that so many movements in opposition to the political and economic elite that have potential get scuttled when they decide that the best way to take back power for themselves is to rally around a nebulous concept of their nation and focus on building up that instead of building up those who are suffering. Now, this reading can only go so far. At the end of the series, the alien member of our main cast returns home, in spite of having just established a deep bond with the other girls. She's never known her homeworld, has no relationships there, so there's really no reason for her to return. The only reason for that to occur is a sentiment that she belongs on her home planet in some abstract manner. And that kind of pointless tie to your nation, or planet, of origin is a pretty nationalist one. Rolling Girls is a series that's got a ton of stuff going on, and a ton of that ton of stuff is explicitly political. So it's an absolute treasure trove if you're looking to dig into it. And, oh right, and I'm angry at the show for shoving all these politics in here. Grrr, SJWs, wah.
Alrighty, once again, we are live right now with Sekiro on Twitch. We got badges, we got emotes, it's all set up. Come on through, it's a full-featured stream. Big Souls fan, Big Souls pro, big professional gamer here with a big gamer dick, ready to take it to those Souls bosses, those Sekiro bosses. Watch me, please. Also, you can come on through and join the Discord. We host all sorts of stuff. We got polls, like the poll that decided the anime of this video, along with polls to decide games, and just hang out, man. You can, of course, support my work on Patreon or through Ko-fi. A huge thank you to JMan4747, Chase Sutter, Lucas Holcomb, Randall Hudson, Elaine Gilstrom, John Smith, Mad Marks, Gia Lee, Melody Heron Anderson, and everyone else who's supporting me on there already. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.